Now, here's today's route, 168 kilometres, setting out from Colunga and following the coast as far as Santander before turning in and tackling the only climb of the day up to Pena Cabarga. A 5.6 kilometre climb with a shallow stretch just before 2k to go, where riders can regather their strength for the finale.
7 kilometres to go for the breakaway group who've just been through that green arch, and now just a handful of seconds really behind them. A much changed peloton with different trains of GC teams placing their riders as they sense the foot of the climb is not too far up the road. In fact, just 1 kilometre to go as Christoph Pfingsten from Bora Argon 18 and David Arroyo go on the attack and try and break this up. And there's a reaction from Sander Armé from Lotto Soudal on the other side of the road, bringing up all the remains, the other 21 riders in that breakaway group who only have 20 seconds now. Meanwhile, further back down the road, Orica Bike Exchange have control of the front of the race in company of Ethics Quickstep and Team Sky. And Tinkoff, for once, are relieved of pace-setting duties. So it has all changed at the front and a little bit further back. Johannes Fröhlinger from Team Giant Alpecin and Sander Armé have made that a 4-man group now. And it's Trek Segafredo who are trying to get across to them. 6k to go, so just 400 metres until they hit the foot of this climb. It's all going to come together pretty much as they start to climb here, David.
It's looking that way, yeah, which is going to be incredibly disappointing for this breakaway. I'm sure once they got in it, 23 riders, they thought, this is it, we're going to make it, we're going to be racing for the stage. But here they are, they're coming into it now, and the peloton is just going to be right there.
Sander Armé leads the race up the climb. He has 4 riders with him. Christoph Pfingsten in his first ever Grand Tour from Bora Argon 18, and now further behind, and look how far or how close they are behind them. The big GC favourites are about to do battle. JJ Rojas leads the green jersey of Alejandro Valverde, and not far behind him the red jersey of race leader Nairo Quintana into contention. And who's going to be the first of the big name riders to launch their attack?
Well, it's Movistar who is setting the pace, and you can see it's already blowing to pieces the front of that peloton, as it is here. And there they are, you can see them in the background. It's Team Sky and Movistar who are really in the prominent position. I think Alberto Contador has actually lost most of his team, so he seems almost isolated immediately. But that's not a big deal. There he is in the right, moving up on his own, Alberto Contador. You
can see the contrast in the speed as well. They're just ripping past the remains of that breakaway who are starting to go backwards. This is the front of the race, and it's Angel Madrazo from Caja Rural who has the race lead. Davide Malacani and Ben Howans, interestingly, he's a dangerous rider. The best placed in the general classification at the beginning of the day is in 4th wheel with Larry Warbas in between him and the rider from Astana. Those are the first 4 on the road, but I don't think it'll be too long before this group of favourites gets right across to Madrazo and past him.
And there is Chris Froome in the white jersey, sitting there at the bottom of the screen. He looks very safe, and at the moment he's not needing to pull any tactics of dropping out. He's obviously quite comfortable. Ben Herman's now moving forward, so he was one of the riders we did think would move. We were surprised not to see Pierre Roland there. You can see him at the back there, just dragging on. But
Mahawi Kudus is the one of 2 Dimension Data riders who is just about living with this group. But Ben Hermans looks very, very strong here. Meanwhile, further down the road, they're all marking each other now. Pretty soon that group will be smaller and smaller as the kilometres tick off, but the group of favourites are all clustered together towards the front. And no attacks so far.
Well, it's perfect for Movistar at the moment. Tinkoff did all the hard work before, so they still have a full complement of riders. Rojas, who's still there, doing another great ride. Alejandro Valverde just sitting there as well in the green jersey, just a bit behind. He's sitting there near Chris Froome and Chavez and Simon Yates. Simon Yates and Chavez are very well placed as well.
It's a good ride from Ben Howmans. He goes under 5 kilometres to go. Steep sections at the foot of this climb. It levels off a little bit towards the middle and then ramps up again with another 18% gradient further up towards the top. So they've barely started, really. JJ Rojas still there with Jonathan Castroviejo, and behind him Ruben Fernandez. And then comes the red jersey of Nairo Quintana with the battered shape of Alberto Contador just sitting on his wheel. Ian Boswell is setting the pace for Team Sky.
Omar Freire looking good as well in the climbers jersey, sitting next to Contador.
Been a revelation, Freire. He's been brilliant.
He really has. But on his wheel, there's Chris Froome sitting much further back than all the others as a Katusha rider moves now.
So there's Ben Howmans at the front of the race, and it's a big attack from one of the Katusha. I think it might be Igor Silin who is attacking from Katusha and opens up a little bit of a gap. There's no great need to get straight onto him, I don't think. No one will be too bothered. He's 10 minutes 14 seconds down in the general classification, so he can go unless they want the stage victory. Well, that's quite a good move from Igor Silin. He might be allowed a little bit of a slack here as the big GC favourites mark each other.
See Chris Froome just spinning up now. Now he's moving back into position, so he's seen the first attack go, and he's only seen Ian Boswell and David Lopez looking behind, checking. Pete Kenya's bringing up Chris Froome, so He's obviously moved up now, doesn't want to be too far back.
This is Ben Hermans still at the front of the race, and a good ride. We don't know the time gaps. We don't know who he's got with him. That's Jan Bakelants, of course, who's with him, I think. Or is it Axel de Moor? Yeah, it's Bakelants. Of course it is, in his umpteenth breakaway of the Vuelta so far. And now it's over to just 2 more riders before they're through Movistar to the red jersey himself of Nairo Quintana. I wonder if this is going to be a phony wall all the way up to the top, whether this is a day off in the GC race. Doubt it somehow, with the attacking intent that Alberto Contador has shown so far on the stage, with his team doing all the work to bring this back. Although they haven't brought it entirely back, because Ben Hermans, who can climb and can climb extremely well, as his recent form has suggested in the Vuelta a Burgos, is flying up this climb.
Well, his dream scenario would be that it's neutralised behind, but I can't see that happening. As he said, after Tinkoff doing all that work, Alberto Contador sitting up there at Nairo Quintana's wheel. Chris Froome's well placed as well, so they're all there. As we said, it's quite a short climb. There's no point in lagging off behind and putting yourself in a position where you would be at risk of, in the final kilometre or so, getting caught out.
Jack Janse van Rensburg, the latest rider from the breakaway to be subsumed back into the peloton, as Jan Bakelants loses contact completely with his compatriot Ben Hermans, the rider from BMC, who is in the front of the race, and he's got 18 seconds back to the red jersey group. So that is the time gap from Hermans, the sole leader of the race, to this red jersey group. Mojave Kudus coming back, and so too is Zdenek Stibar. And one of the Katusha riders, well, that was Celine, I think. So that attack has come back now. Didn't work, hasn't made it stick today. Kudus battling on. He was in that original breakaway. That's Axel de Moor. Or is it even Jan Bakelants himself being swept up? So pretty soon it'll just be Hermans up the road. I think that is the second rider on the road now you're looking at, and only Hermans separates this group from a stage victory. And there he is, the lone leader. Second overall on the Vuelta a Burgos, after finishing third on the steep summit of the final climb of that stage race leading up to the Vuelta, behind Sergio Padilla and Alberto Contador. So even though we don't think of him as a climber, Hermans is a considerable force, and 14 seconds, I think he'll still take a little bit of catching. But if they start to accelerate and attack each other, he'll be swept up in no time at all.
Look at the discipline of Team Sky. David Lopez just keeps checking behind, making sure that Chris Froome's okay. I think it's clear that he is going to race from the front today, Chris Froome. He might, if the attacks go, he might just let them go at first and pace him back. But the fact he's in that position indicates that he really is, he's not playing any games today.
Ruben Fernandez on the front for Movistar. There's David Lopez, the rider you were just talking about.
And Chris Froome shook his head. So David Lopez moved forward and looked back, and Chris Froome gave a big shake of his head. So I think David Lopez thought he was going to go up and set a higher pace. David Lopez is obviously on a flyer of a day, hence why he's up there, keeps looking behind, wants to go up there and help. I think he wants to do something. Sometimes when you feel that good, you just want to go and contribute something to your leader's day.
Well, it's coming back, isn't it? It is coming back second by second. Just 10 seconds now Ben Hermans has to this group on the climb. There's the white jersey of Chris Froome alongside Nairo Quintana, and there's no more than 12, 13 riders left in that big group.
That goes to show us such a small climb really can cause that much damage, and it's I don't think TV really does justice just how steep this is.
Interestingly, a little gap has opened up for that group containing Fernandez, I think Igor Celine, and one other rider, and it was Esteban Chavez who was just trying to close the gap from Orica Bike Exchange.
You really would think this Brambilla moving up, so yeah, that's interesting. So the domestiques have just moved forward.
Yeah, Latour looking
and it's
strong.
and it's the Orica Bike Exchange. I think that's Simon Yates, is it not? Yeah, just sitting there. That's in the 5th position in the Orica Bike Exchange, just in front of Nairo Quintana. He's just riding his own pace, letting those domestiques ride away.
Sammy Sanchez is still in that group. Andrew Talansky holding on to the coattails of the group, I think.
Oh, there's no, that was Chavez at the front, not Simon Yates.
Yeah, Simon Yates isn't far behind though. You can see the other green helmet just alongside and next to Chris Froome in the white jersey. So Ben Hermans still has a lead, but surely it's a question of when and not if it all comes to a grinding halt for Ben Hermans. Brave effort, don't think it's going to be enough though. There's Ben Hermans. He's under 3 kilometers to go, the big man, but he's beginning to struggle now, and the chase behind him will reel him in any minute now. It's going to be Ruben Fernandez still on the front from Movistar, the former red jersey wearer on the Vuelta, working now for Nairo Quintana and working to try and set up a stage win, another stage win for the Colombian on this fantastic Vuelta that he's having. Chris Froome out of the saddle and working hard. No sign. I can't see the red jersey of Nairo Quintana at the moment. He's slipped a little bit further back down the line. I'm sure he's there, and he's looking comfortable, but dropped a little bit further back.
Sitting, so him and Chris. So there you go. There's big three there. Yeah. Nairo Quintana, Chris Froome, Alberto Contador, Chavez there sitting on Contador's wheel. It won't be long, you'd expect, if Contador's going to move for one of these riders, but the problem is at the moment Ruben Fernandez is setting such an infernal pace that it's now impossible to attack off it. The moment that he pulls off, if he does, that's when the attacks will come.
I tell you, he's having a great ride on this climb. That's Damien Howson, the big man there, you can see from Orica Bike Exchange in 5th wheel with the blue jersey and the green helmets. He's having a brilliant ride working for Esteban Chavez, and it was him actually who closed that gap up to Ruben Fernandez earlier on.
Yeah, it's a great ride from him. Quite a big guy compared to all the other guys there as well.
That's the selection. Michele Scarponi is still there. Further back, you can see the green jersey just going out of your shot now, or just back in. That is Alejandro Valverde. Just dropped a little bit further back, and there is Simon Yates, I think, just a couple of wheels behind Alejandro Valverde.
Well, you can see the speed they're going. This is a slightly easier section, as you can see the way it's strung out and the speed that they're going at, and to the degree where it's forming a little bit of an echelon with that crosswind there. You can see how it's just zigzagged across the road slightly. But then it's going to go steep again after here. And look at Ruben Fernandez just winding it up. They're all absolutely pinned to stay on the wheels of each other.
That's the battle. Where are the favourites? Well, Nairo Quintana, Chris Froome, Alberto Contador, Esteban Chavez. They're all lurking. 2.3 kilometres to go. They're all together. No one's attacked anyone yet in this group of favourites. Pete Kenyak, the last man in that line. Sammy Sanchez not too far in front of him. Fernandez has done a great pace-setting job, and he takes them through 2 kilometres to go. So this group is going to produce the stage winner. There's still a steep section of this climb to come, an 18% section, and it's not too far from here. It's before the final kilometre as they turn right-handed now, and eventually someone is going to have to attack from this group.
Well, this will be it. We'll see how strong Ruben Fernandez is, if he can carry on, or if he'll just peel off immediately when it goes steep. At the moment, he does look reasonably comfortable, but it's hard to tell as Chavez is moving.
Esteban Chavez attacks. He goes round on the left-hand side of the road and accelerates, gets out of his saddle now, sees the finishing line in front of him, or smells it anyway. 1.7 kilometres to go for the Colombian. Started the day, don't forget, in 4th place in the general classification, can make up time here on a good day. Esteban Chavez has attacked, the first of the big GC favourites to go on this climb up to Pena Cabarga. Here's a steep section though, and this is going to hurt. He'll know all about it, Esteban Chavez, but where is the reaction? Well, David Lopez is moving up on the right-hand side from Team Sky.
I think it's Koenig, or I think it's Koenig.
Leopold Koenig. There's Alejandro Valverde in the green jersey. He's gone after the rider from Sky, and Chris Froome moves to the front as well, with Contador on his wheel and Nairo Quintana. So the big three, if you like, Froome, Contador and Quintana, are further back down the road. Alejandro Valverde in 2nd place has opened up a bit of a gap to them.
Well, that was a great move by Chavez, because he used momentum from the speed and just slungshot himself off, which meant that everybody else now, he carries so much momentum getting that gap. Now it's going to be very hard to bring that back, but Valverde slipped into domestic duty here, and he's going to do his best now to bring this back.
Well, it's a great ride if he can sustain it, Esteban Chavez. He's got a lot of talent chasing him up this mountain, though. And Alejandro Valverde is on the front doing the work. Leopold Koenig still there for Team Sky to use and for Chris Froome to take advantage of. Jean-Christophe Perrault, one of 2 AG2R La Mondiale riders, and he's just losing contact.
Oh, Chris Froome looking very good here. This is perfect. So he's sitting in the perfect position. It's a climb that suits him very well. Once he gets to this point, just being able to sit down and spin, as we saw when he won the stage here in 2011. It was a classic. Came from behind, was overtaken, came from behind again, but at the moment, look at this Chavez. Look at the gap he's got. This is a significant gap, and it's going to be very difficult to bring him back.
Well, Chavez is making a move in the general classification here. and it could be enormously to his advantage by the end of the day. He started the day 1 minute and 11 seconds down on the third placed rider in the general classification, and that would be Chris Froome. At the moment he's got 18 seconds on the road. If he wins, and from here you'd have to say he probably will, he'll take himself 10 seconds. There's a attack though from Leopold Koenig, and he too is well placed in the general classification, not just there to make up the numbers. Starts the day in 6th place, 2:57 down, so they're going to have to watch Koenig as well, and Valverde closes that gap.
Well, obviously Chris Froome is feeling good because that's a move that Koenig has done with agreement from Chris Froome. So he's working, it's not just an attack, he's chasing down Chavez now. So it's Valverde and Koenig who are doing the work for their team leaders, Nairo Quintana and Chris Froome.
Well, Team Sky and Dave Brailsford have enormous faith in Leopold Koenig, his relatively new signing. He takes them through 1 kilometre to go, and I think on the Grand Tours this is the first time we have seen the value that Team Sky have identified in Leopold Koenig. Great ride from him, and incredibly useful not only for Chris Froome and the rest, but there goes Koenig now, and the green jersey of Valverde is on the attack again, opening up a tiny gap to the white jersey, but Chris Froome digging in. A good day from him, and at the moment Quintana and Contador are powerless to do anything off this pace at all.
15 seconds, they'll be able to see. I mean, look how it's not much, the distance isn't that far. They're going so slowly here because it is so steep. Valverde's coming out with motorbikes, so slightly blocking the view, but he will be able to see Chavez there, and it's still all to play for. This is so steep, and it's Chavez, if he's blowing up now, he's going to just lose time so quickly.
Well, it was around this point on the climb in 2011 that Chris Froome was caught by Juan Jose Cobo, the eventual winner of that edition of the race, and then Chris Froome responded and counter-attacked once again. That was then, this is now, and a whole different set of riders are coming to the fore, and the red jersey is on the attack. This time Chris Froome is straight onto him, and Quintana knows he's there. His old rival is on his wheel once again, and Contador is trying to get on terms with those two as Quintana goes again, opens up 1 bike length on the white jersey of Chris Froome. There's a few more bike lengths back to Alberto Contador, and there's Esteban Chavez, and they have got to him, and they will pass him, and it's going to be all over for Esteban Chavez in that attack. As you predicted, David, that is how quickly a substantial lead can unravel on these very steep top slopes. And once again, on this climb, Chris Froome finds himself in 2nd position. Last time, as we see Contador unable to respond this time, and maybe he can get onto the wheel of Esteban Chavez, but Chris Froome goes past Nairo Quintana just as he did to Juan Jose Cobo, and can he get to the finishing line once again on this climb in 1st position? This is where he took his first ever win on the Vuelta, and is he going to make it another win on Pena Cabarga 5 years later? Well, Quintana has not panicked, he's dug in and he's on his wheel. They're going to have a sprint to the line, these two. Pick your winner.
They really are just checkmating each other. Watch them. One of them goes, the other goes. It's a counter. But look at the time gap.
They're riding alongside each other. They've slowed right up. It's almost like a track race now on the steep slopes of Pena Cabarga. They have slowed to almost nothing. Chris Froome looks across, says, what's going to happen now? This is uncharted territory for both of these men on a big form climb on a Grand Tour. The two best climbers, the two big stage racers of their generation at the moment. Nairo Quintana and Chris Froome are duelling it out for the victory.
And listen, they're playing so much, the others getting back on. It's Leopold Koenig who's trying to maximise, get something back, which is fine for him to do that because he's not dragging anyone else back on. But look, 200 metres to go. Oh, this is going to be close.
Leopold Koenig is in 3rd place. He's not going to deny his team leader the stage, is he? Koenig, round the corner he comes. 150 metres to go for Leopold Koenig, and now Chris Froome goes for the line, holding nothing back at this point. It was just about here that he got past Juan Jose Cobo to take the win in 2011, and he's done the same trick again, but this time for Cobo Reed Quintana. Froome wins again on Pena Cabarga, where it all began for him, and Nairo Quintana at this point has to settle for 2nd place to his old rival. Alejandro Valverde comes across the line in 3rd, Koenig in 4th place, and Alberto Contador beaten on the day down into 5th. Chavez, well, he's in 6th. Well, actually, that's Simon Yates, the best of the Orica Bike Exchange riders, and only now does Esteban Chavez come to the line, and Pierre Latour from AG2 La Mondiale finishes in that very, very elite group of riders, with Sami Sanchez, the next rider, across the line. That was brilliant.
That was, and you could see just that we haven't seen Nairo Quintana and Chris Froome battle it out like that in a long time, and that they really were head and shoulders above everybody else. And to the degree where they sat up playing games with each other, allowed everyone else to come back. So it was only a handful of seconds to all the other GC contenders. And to be honest, I don't think they cared. They already feel it's just those two in the race, so they were just racing for the stage.
Well, it was breathless stuff. We waited a long time for it. Everyone was expecting the big move to come from Alberto Contador. But on the day, the heart might have been willing, but the legs weren't for the Spaniard. The day instead belonged emphatically to Team Sky, to the man in the white jersey, to Chris Froome, who wins for the second time in his career on this famous Vuelta climb.
And the vehemence of the celebration perhaps indicating the importance of it for Chris Froome in the psychological as well as physical contest with Nairo Quintana. The pair of them finished on the same time, Froome picking up the 10-second bonus for the stage win, Quintana 6 for second place. Leopold Koenig couldn't quite deprive Alejandro Valverde of the 4 for third. They finished 2 seconds ahead of Alberto Contador. Simon Yates was next over the line, followed by Michele Scarponi and Esteban Chavez, who started it all off today and lost 19 seconds for his efforts.
Esteban, unfortunately there was no Colombian alliance, it was Nairo who chased you down.
Sometimes it's like this, no? The important is try. We tried, and this time is not for us, but the important is keeping try is another 10 days in front.
This morning Chris Froome had only won one stage of the Vuelta, and he's still only won one stage, it's just that he's won it twice.
Chris, that was a very boisterous celebration for you. Were you nostalgic for 2011 when you lost one here?
Well, I mean, I've definitely got some special memories from back on this climb, back in 2011, winning against Kobo. So yeah, it's amazing to be able to add to that today with how it panned out on the road today.
And just tell us about the final climb.
In my mind, I was really just thinking about just following the main guys, and obviously Nairo Quintana today. And when he attacked with just on about a kilometre to go on the steep ramp, I felt I had the legs to follow him and gave it a small dig myself. But coming into the last few hundred metres, I had the legs and thought, well, why not? I knew the finish. I knew the left-hand corner to the finish well, and thought I'd try and take it from the front.
Alejandro Valverde's lead in the green jersey competition grew today, with Gianni Meersman scoring no points and Nairo Quintana moving up to second, but Valverde has lost his second place overall to Chris Froome.
Alejandro, ¿te parece que Froome está creciendo en esta vuelta?
No, creciendo no, ya tenía un gran nivel antes y ahora sigue teniéndolo igual. Al final le ha ganado porque ha sido más rápido que Nairo, pero no mejor.
Faster but not better, interesting distinction. By the way, Movistar now hold all the jerseys because Nairo Quintana has moved into the lead in the King of the Mountains competition by a point from Omar Fraile. Of course, he already held the red and combined jerseys, and Movistar lead the team competition too. All the more galling for the race leader, no doubt, that the post-race interviews kept returning to the question of power meters.
No, es claro que en todos los deportes la tecnología ha avanzado y tenemos que utilizarla. Es muy bueno. Lo que pasa que últimamente pues ha quitado mucho espectáculo a nuestro deporte. Unos la saben utilizar de mejor manera, otros de peor. Pero se podría plantear en limitar para utilizarlo en competición. Sin más. Como si sigue también nos da igual, pero sería bueno por lo menos pensarlo o intentarlo.
Nairo Quintana wants to ban you from using your power meter. What do you make of that?
Well, just me specifically or everyone?
Everyone.
I mean, why not? Let's also go back to single-speed bikes at the same time. Why not?
Not sure Sky would sanction the matching woolen jerseys and toe clips though. Now here's what stage 11 has done to the standings. Froome is up into second place, 54 seconds behind Nairo Quintana and 11 seconds ahead of Alejandro Valverde. Esteban Chavez is at 2 minutes 34 now, Alberto Contador 3:08. Leopold Koenig is quietly having himself a great race in support of Chris Froome, just a second behind Contador. Simon Yates moves up to 7th and Michele Scarponi to 8th as David de la Cruz slips a couple of places. Samuel Sanchez is still 10th.